That's what we do. Feels very nice to be doing this again. So hello to everyone in chat. Thank you for being with us on an unusual day. Just had stuff going on with the college basketball championship, and with us having 2 full weeks until our next League of Legends, said, let's bump it back. So
just take our time.
Let's just bask one more day in the glow of the fire that we left behind after that match.
The smoldering wreckage.
The remains of C9 and Summit. All right. So here's what we'll do.
His MVP trophy will keep him warm.
He'll join Spica in that. Okay, so here's what we'll do tonight. We're probably not going to talk much like detail about the progression of each game. We're just going to, hit the highlights from stuff that we enjoyed. It's basically going to be the show and tell of things we liked from this weekend. Got a few like larger conversations to tackle. And then I think a lot of focus on the listener takes as well. So, not too much of a departure for what we usually do, but I don't think we'll go so hard on the individual games. So here we are on the heels of a 3-0 weekend. Jordan predicted a 3-1 victory for 100 Thieves. I predicted a 3-2 victory for 100 Thieves. And I guess that did we overestimate C9 or underestimate 100T? That's the first question.
I mean, my answer will be 1 degree less of whatever your answer is, perhaps, because I was pretty close to calling a 3-0.
Yeah.
And really quickly, I will say there were more analysts picking us. I think on the desk, like on the little 4-person analyst desk segment, it was 300 Thieves picks, or maybe they only did 2.
I didn't watch the pregame. I went straight to the games.
I want to say it was Raz and Jat picked 100 Thieves, and Emily picked C9. There's only one C9 pick, and it's Emily. So
wow,
it's possible that people have started to remember who we are, and perhaps especially when it gets to playoffs time, we'll talk about that. But look, I think that this is just a continuation of what we've been talking about with this team, which is it feels like they have flipped the switch, and we should expect them to perform at a different level than the past several weeks. And I think the reason I gave C9 1 game is because I think they're a good team, and I still think that's true. But I think it's also a little bit of underestimating just how much our next gear, how much horsepower is in that next gear for us, and it would appear that it is potentially still more than what we saw. So I think it's both. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah,
I think we've really got their number. I think we have their number right now in a big way.
Yeah, we're kind of like the Dignitas to them, to their 100 Thieves, like
right. Yes.
I think for me personally, if you remember, the reason why I ended up picking us was because like I just felt that everybody on the team was starting to play well, and it wasn't like like we need this person to pick up the slack. It's like no, everybody's like starting to have really good games. We like completed Exodia with like FBI coming active in that last week, right? Yep. So and I just feel like when our 5 guys play as well as they're capable of playing, I don't think we're beatable. So at this point it's just a matter of, do we show up in that way? And it's kind of in our hands because our guys are monsters. They're monsters. Like there's nothing else there's no other way to put it. They just can stomp. Like, and so if they show up, if they have that consistency, we're just not beatable. And I know what Team Liquid has on their roster. I don't care. We're just not beatable when we play at our best.
Well, and there's actually a very convenient historical reference point for this, right? Which is the literal world champion and us stomping them. So it might sound like hyperbole. And I think with a lot of teams, you can make those kinds of claims in what feels like a very naive way. This is one of the only teams in the world where you can say that and you can mean it, and it is true. And I think you're right. I think that at our best, and this is a big part of the reason we were so excited about this team coming into spring. At our best, there isn't a team in the world that can beat us. Are we going to beat them 3 games out of 5? No, obviously not. But
I was going to say
can
world
take
is an
games.
ambitious claim. There's not a team in the world. I'm just talking NA right now. We could talk about worlds later, but yeah.
This is my point. We beat the world champion in a best of 1, right? And if it was a best of 3, it would be a different story, et cetera, et cetera.
Admittedly,
right?
fate was already semi-sealed for them when it happened, So they weren't it was like they're still playing for the 1 seed at that point. But
my point is, I think you're right. At our best, this is a very good team. And you could argue, there is an argument to be made, this is a team that can beat the best team in the world. Because we did.
Yeah. And
so
I think that what that means for me is that I think like I overestimated C9. Like that's how I'm tying this back to the question I asked. Because like I felt like, all right, we're running into form, so we good. But I just thought that we would get more out of them. I specifically thought we'd get more out of Summit. Do you want to hit that topic right off the bat? I mean, sure. Look, it was talked about on broadcast. So the cumulative KDA for Summit against us in the past 4 games, meaning this last series and then week 8 when we played them, he was 0-8-2 week 8. He was 0-7-0 game 1. He was 1-6-1 because he got a kill at the very end of the game, like while the Nexus was coming down.
As the Nexus exploded.
Yeah, in game 2. And then he was 1-2-2 in game 3. So he is 2-23-5 against us in his last 4 games. I mean, I thought he was going to show up a little bit better than that. Look, and granted, I think we intentionally tilted him, right? We camped the mess out of him in that regular season game. And then we didn't actually do that in the following games, but we showed up immediately to gank him a couple times. So it's like, it's like we reminded him that we can camp you. And then we kind of backed off and just like, it doesn't matter. We're just going to win anyway. So
I think that the C9 fans would probably say they would have the camping argument ready, which is fine. Essentially, he was one of Closer's jungle camps on the top side. Like Closer didn't pass through the top jungle without clear. There's a full clear, right? You get all your camps and Summit, and then you go back.
300 gold, 1 CS.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it shows up as a 0 on your CS tracker, but it's a camp. So, but yeah, it was just you couldn't miss. You couldn't miss. And this is playoff closer, right? This is playoff closer. We had forgotten, and it's Lee Sin closer too. Like,
I don't want to go all the way into closer yet. But it's like certainly he was a piece of that, right? He was showing up, and he honestly, that must be a nightmare when closer walks into your lane. So there's that. Remember, we did all of this with Ssumday on Ornn, by the way. So we went pressure sponge, weak side, scale kind of deal with Ssumday. And I think I honestly think we just tilted the mess out of them. And I think Summit just is going to be broken against us until he gets some time to break out.
Oh yeah. Maybe a little bit of like a Cody Sun double lift dynamic. Like even if he's having a very good run, maybe we're in his head now, right? And maybe it's going to take something to get us out of his head, because these are not his 4 favorite games in a row that he's played.
No,
that's for sure.
Yes, these are the games that's like, why did I come to NA?
Yeah,
right. So I'm like, it again. I mean, someone can correct me who's actually smart about League of Legends, but it just doesn't feel like after the early game of game 1 that we were like camping Summit. It was just we were just playing and getting kills, and I think he ran it down a bit. Because his mental's just not there against us anymore. So it's kind of like we just crossed them off the list. And look, I don't want to be too bold, too brash here, but it just feels like, all right, if they make it back to play us again in the final or something, who cares? Like, I don't know. I just at this point, their trajectory has just been bad. And I think like we accelerated that, dominating their
Yeah.
MVP. So I like they just like, we talk about this all the time. Teams wax and wane. It is really hard to be really good for a long time. We talked about that like over and over
Yep.
again. The best teams will still have rough stretches, and theirs is coming right now at a bad time for them. End of the regular season and going into playoffs. We were the exact opposite. We got our rough stretch early, and then we have gradually eased into the momentum. Now that's mostly, I mean, it's not intentional in the sense that, whoa, we tried to lose or whatever, right? But it's like we were calculated about the way that management went about planning the split for the players, accommodating the players' requests for a little bit more time and then reining it in to be in shape at the right time. And that is what we're seeing. And C9 is just like the opposite of that.
I mean, if this is the proof of concept, then they need to, like, coaches that split is in the bag, right? Now, again, I think that's a regular season award, so I guess it'll probably go to Max Waldo.
Oh my gosh. I don't dislike Max. I'm just saying, like,
no, but yeah, but what a misrepresentation of who the best coach of this split has actually been so far, and it's Reaper. And
well,
it's not close.
We clearly don't play for regular season awards because, like,
we don't.
Like, look, I mean, just like last year, it's clockwork, right? Closer is the best player in the LCS. Like, he just is right now. Not like, what are you going to do about it? Right? He, again, just like last year, he is just the best. And he played really well during the split, but he wasn't like on that, so far ahead of everyone level. And he just, with the help of the plan from management and with his hard work, he just hits the switch going into playoffs. And I'm good. Yeah. I'm good with it. All right. If we miss out on MVPs because we're stacking titles, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
It's like, it's hard to find an analogy for this, right? But I think to your point on the waxing and waning thing, the concern as a fan, as a casual observer, is it's like, hey, look, if you have a dial that you can turn and reliably and predictably impact the performance of your team, great. The meme is spring split doesn't matter, right? What's like, the difference between first and third seed in spring split certainly doesn't have the huge impact that not making playoffs in spring split does. The teams who aren't in playoffs are going to probably be a bigger fan of like the this doesn't matter meme. But talk about, I mean, like having gas in the tank. Here's a clear illustration of the value of that. If you can turn it up when every game matters even more, in other words, a best of series, and it works, then good job. You've solved it, right? You've cracked the code. And you can ask less of your players when it's not as important and more of them when it is. And they're happier and they're in better shape. Like, and then you get this outcome. Right? Yeah. That's the thing that's important.
It's like the analogy, and this may have even been made by Jack, because I feel like he brought up Coach Pop, but I wouldn't necessarily hone in on Pop as the one from NBA, but it's just like resting on the end of a back-to-back on the road, right? For NBA players. Yeah. It's like a lot of the times you'll see the stars take those games off because it's just like, all right, it's a really grueling period for us. Let's not overdo it. We're going to play for, some type of home court advantage, maybe not top seed, but like, in that top 4, and just be ready to go when the time comes. And that's what we've done in this split. So
yeah, because I think that fans, it's very easy to fall into the kind of the binary evaluation process, right? Did we win or did we lose?
Yeah.
And every win is good and every loss is bad. And I think what we're learning from this team, and I want to be careful that this doesn't become copium at any point, but because in part, I think I used to be a little bit more this way until this team showed me that you actually, they have now done this twice, right? Like they have hit a different gear in playoffs, and I'm kind of trying to figure out how that's happening and why. But it could be that this is more intentional than luck, right? Like I think you have to entertain that possibility that this is not just Reaper really hoping that his team is ready for playoffs and actually making decisions that to the fans might look like, I'm not sure how good this team is anymore.
Yeah.
And then we get to playoffs and like, oh, we're still good. Okay, great. I like that. That'll work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, yeah, we're just getting conditioned for this. Like now we just, okay, so 2 splits in a row. This is what we're going to see. And hey, we're not going to win them all, but like, if this is what we can expect to be like in tip top form when the time comes, I don't care. Run the 6-man roster for all I care. If this is the end result,
Have us all asking and worrying about 6-man roster while meanwhile you're focused on the first series of playoffs and how we're going to dismantle our opponent.
Yeah.
Well,
we are doing a whole lot of congratulating ourselves before we've actually gone past round 2 of the playoffs. But it's just the mind space that we're in now. We're like, we don't have to sweat the little stuff anymore because the management has put us in a position where we don't have to sweat those things anymore. So now we can focus on the stuff that top teams are supposed to be focusing on. And we can be that perennial in the mix team.
It's kind of weird because right now we're 2 series away from another title. Right. So, I mean, it feels early to be celebrating, but I think also to a certain degree, it feels like we have demonstrated that we belong. We still belong in the title conversation.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And we're going to Houston.
Right. And so I think the lowest possible finish now is 3rd, which, not what we want, obviously. But hard to say that your entire split has been a failure if you are in the top 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe we can talk about that at some point, but
and we will. I've got that coming up later.
I guess it doesn't to me feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves to say, hey, good job.
Yeah. Unless you think good job just means a title and nothing less.
Right.
Which we'll see. It's kind of looking like, and that's why I titled the podcast, it's kind of looking like we're the favorites now. And that's just fine. Well, let's talk about that later though. Let's go. Let's kind of return back to some observations from the series and what it means before we have those more. I mean, we're going to be all over the place tonight, admittedly, but we hit on closer. I wanted to bring up a point that was made on the JLXP pod because closer got to play picks that he very much enjoys this weekend. Right. He played Lee Sin twice. And all 3 games were Lee Sin, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so he's Lee Sin 3 times. And JLXP, they were saying, Jat was like, you might see that and be like, oh, well, why aren't they banning Lee Sin? Obviously ban Lee Sin out. And both of them were like, that is not what you want to do. It's like, no, it's you just get to the point where you realize if it's not Lee Sin, it's Diana. If it's not Diana, it's Viego and so forth, right? You can't just keep him away from playing something where he will totally take over the game. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why he's the best player in LCS right now. You cannot ban him out. They have nerfed. We are benefiting from fortunate nerf timing on this patch, I feel like, for who we are. For instance, Hecarim's just been basically removed. Right? Hecarim was like probably the single most problematic champion for us through the whole split. And he's just gone, right? He's just, all right, cool. He's nerfed. He's done.
We didn't have to ban him at all. And he was a perma ban for us.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, all right, don't need to worry about that. Am I remembering right? Because we're not patch note guys, but am I remembering right that they nerfed Zeri also? Like it was like a small nerf to Zeri?
I can't remember.
Either this patch or last patch. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Chat, let us know.
So it's like, Berserker, go ahead and play 3 games of Zeri. It's fine with us.
Still almost carry single-handedly.
Yeah, once or twice. But, sure.
Yeah,
but it's
a very small ban, by the way.
Tryndamere did get nerfed, which would potentially hurt Ssumday, except for the fact that he also can play weak side like a beast. You know what I mean? So we had like a not so great meta for us earlier on in the split, And now with the patches, we're actually coming into a pretty favorable situation on top of us playing well. So closer in particular, I think, benefits from that. And then he just remembers who he is and is just taking over everything. I mean, look, I'm trying to think. I feel like Blabber was fairly irrelevant in this series. Like, I think he had 1 or 2 good Diana plays in game 2.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he did.
I don't know. I like a lot of times when we played Blabber in the past, it's like, oh, God, freaking Blabber again and again and again. And there's the famous thing about closer, right? Where it's like, Blabber's so effing good, you know?
Yeah.
Like, now Blabber's saying that about closer.
It's switched for sure. It's switched. Yeah.
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 So
Blabber even got first blood in the second game. So if he was going to snowball.
Oh, was that on Abbedagge?
Or Huhi.
Was it Huhi? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I believe so. I think it was the level 5 Nautilus mid. He'd roamed up.
Got you. So it's like you know, the all split long. We were like, closer's playing well. He's fine. He's not a player that we're looking at for, man, you know, what's like, we're not playing as well as we typically do. I wonder what's going on there. It was not closer that we were looking at, right? Still, he elevated himself beyond where he was playing. We've talked about Ssumday all split, how good he's done.
Closer. I want to just highlight this because we have been on the Ssumday fanboy train hard the last, you know, ever since the LCS made our poll famous. You know, but I want to call special attention to the fact that we are now fully back onto the closer MVP train, right? And
not
I don't
MVP,
think it's because,
or at least not for me. It's like, for me, he is the best player in LCS right now. The MVP is a regular season award. I just want to draw that distinction.
Yeah. So series MVP, like, he was our best player in the series.
Yeah, for sure.
Without question. And I think it's not because Ssumday is playing worse than he has been. Like, he still had an outstanding series. He played his role to near perfection. So still just as good as he's been. But this is truly closer hitting that next level. And I feel like it's the same thing that we saw in in summer 2021 playoffs, right? It's the closer show. And so I don't, this is not like a reversal or a flip-flop or change my mind. It's just like, oh, this is closer's highlight reel, and we're just here to enjoy it, basically, is what this series felt like.
Yeah, that was exactly what the Liquid series felt like. And honestly, the C9 series last year. Yeah. Do you remember the Sven kick? Dude.
Yes.
I will never forget it. Yeah. So so we have him in place. Like I said, Ssumday, it's almost it's like if they nerfed a couple carry top options, maybe that nerfs the player like Summit. It certainly doesn't nerf Ssumday because of how well he can play weakside, right? He can play those more supportive champs. He can play the Ornn. He played the Malphite. Like, if you nerf everybody else out and you don't go down at all, then that's a buff for you, right? Like, that's a relative buff to you. And so Ssumday's enjoying that. FBI, right? He was, like I said, he was like kind of the final missing piece when we weren't hitting on all of our cylinders. And now look at the dude go, right? Did you see his Lucian game? I think he worked out some anger issues while he was playing Lucian in that game. 12-1-6, game 3 for him. His Aphelios and Xayah games. So he played Xayah game 1 and Aphelios in game 2. And honestly, like, they read quiet on the stat sheet, but I felt like he played very solid during those games. For sure. And again, into Berserker Zeri, right? Into Renata as support. Like, it's not like an easy task. And he came out very solidly, and FBI was right there with him. Mm-hmm. Those dudes seem to be I would say, honestly, they're almost all the way back. I still think there's extra
Yeah.
headroom for them where they can go higher. I think they can go harder. FBI has had a few monster games in the last handful of games. So it's like,
Yeah.
this is no disrespect to him because he's
Yeah.
playing great now. But I have seen those dudes and I think he can be even better. And I think who he can be even better. So it's like there's potentially room for improvement in bot lane that is already doing very well at the moment.
Yep. Well, and I think the Lucian Nami game was filthy. Like that to me felt like these two dudes at their peak. And it's not to say like that's the best game I've ever seen them play by any means, but it was that kind of a game
Is that
where
the
it's like
bot lane we played against EDG?
I don't
It
think
was Nami
so.
something. It was Nami something. I thought it was Lucian.
Oh, maybe. I can't remember. But yeah, I agree with you. I think clearly that was a game where he was unleashed.
Yeah.
Full.
Okay. So going back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games for him.
Mhm.
His last 7, starting with the farthest back and then moving to recent. Okay. 5, 2, and 6 Jinx in a win. 4, 1, and 13 Zeri in a win. 12, 0, and 11 win on Aphelios. That was against C9, by the way. In the loss to Dignitas, 2, 5, and 6 on the Xayah. Game 1 of this series, 1, 1, and 6 on Xayah. 4, 2, 7 Aphelios. 12, 1, and 6 Lucian. Like, okay. It's looking good.
Yeah.
It was not looking that solid for a lot of the split, so
Yeah.
very
Well, it
happy
just
to
felt
see that.
different.
Yeah. And
It
that's, okay, that's exactly where I was going. It's like on top of
Yeah.
that,
Mhm.
it just feels more that they're back. They
Yep.
just seem to have the like aggression back. They seem to
And
have the, this is actually my lane back.
I don't know if you knew. This is my lane. There's one play. It was we just finished the Baron take, and he dashes the wall, flashes the Victor Ray, and just insta Gibbs fudge. Like it was his whole health bar was red before he died.
Yeah.
It,
I love that
he zeroed
animation.
him out.
It's a really satisfying animation.
It was very satisfying. Right, good job, Riot. And like that's the aggression that we all know. Like he knew exactly what was going to happen in that. He knew that he had, lethal basically with one combo. So that's the kind of FBI that I love to see, right? He's like, "Oh, I got more. I'm going to take it."
Yeah.
And
And that's it. So okay, check that box, right? And that leaves Abbedagge, right? Look at Abbedagge. Has to be the biggest turnaround of any of our players, right? Because like when FBI and who he weren't doing super well, it wasn't like, for the most part, it wasn't disastrous, right? Abbedagge had some like disastrous gaming. Right? It was like
disastrous game.
I was not sure what was going on with that dude for a while.
Yes.
Was it against Dignitas, the Corky game, where it was just like,
Oh,
what are we
yeah.
witnessing? Dude his Victor is basically like an automatic win.
Yeah, it's so clean. It's so clean.
Has he? Okay, let me pull this up. Here, you go. You say something. I'm gonna pull up if he's lost on Victor.
The damage output is absurd. I cannot count the number of fights where it's a shame for the other teams that so many of the very important plays in a game of League of Legends happen in a choke point. Because I mean, it's partially that we are, we're red side a lot. So,
Yeah.
we're first to Baron, right? If we're first to Baron and he's on Victor, it's a free take because you have the gravity field, you've got the whatever the storm is. It's like there's probably a good 10 seconds of area denial from him. The laser's out.
And he knows how to use it.
He knows how to use it. And there was one point where they were like, we got to wade through it, guys. And they come out of this choke point and they're all like 1/3 HP. Good luck with this team fight,
Yeah.
And he does that time and time again. He plays those super well. And that's not the only thing he does well, right? Like team fights, picks, etc., are all happening on this Victor. It's really good. It's really good. And in game 1 where he gets first blood, they talked about this a lot on the call, but he was off to the races.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, confirmed this split undefeated on the Victor. I'll read you his stat lines from this season. Let's see, what week would this have been? 1, 2, yeah, week 2 versus EG, 7-1-10 Victor in a W. Much later, so this is probably week 6. Golden Guardians 2-2-10 in a dub. That was the game that I think we should not have won that we did against Golden Guardians. Now, and that's actually important to note, because remember that game? Remember how thoroughly they destroyed us in that game, and we just got objective bounties and put our pieces together? In that stomp by Golden Guardians, he was 2-2-10. He only died twice through the course of that. That's pretty insane. 2 games later against Immortals, 7-1-3 on the Victor, 4-1-4 game 1, 7-1-5 game 2. This guy's Victor, you may have to ban it.
Yeah.
You may have to play it, or you may have to ban it.
And Fudge did play it game 3. Not to mention the cleanup double kill he got in game 2.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We just got completely rolled in the team fight, and he rolls through and gets a quick double. I'm like, all right, well, I guess they're,
I think, if I'm remembering right, I think he got a double and also basically got the 3rd kill. Well, I think he had basically a kill that someone else cleaned, and then he got a double. So it's really like a triple. If we're getting picky about it. But yeah, so the point is, again, return to form, and we know he has an Ari also. We know he has a Twisted Fate also. And he reminded us that he has an Azir too. And this Azir, kill-wise, wasn't super impactful, right? They focused on him so much, and he got caught out once or twice too. Yeah. Which was a little surprising because of the mobility of Azir. But I think like both times he got caught out, it was just earning us stuff elsewhere. So it's kind of like, all right, it's still a positive event for us. He ended up with 5 deaths on the Azir, 1, 5, and 10. But crucial ults, and we know he can play this champ really well. So I don't know. Yeah. I feel like I want him on that pick, and I think it's another great pick from him. I don't care if he died 5 times on it. Yeah. I think it's a great pick. Do you remember how he cut through bot lane and set up a double scoop?
Yeah. He jumped 2 walls.
Yeah, it was nasty, man. He's good with that champ. So again, problematic for other players. Like, what are you going to do against him? So if you go back to game 2, he was really like the thing that allowed us to hang on. In many ways. One, again, being the one not. And this may actually be a thing now I talk about, but maybe we can file this under, this might be a thing, right? That take of the day.
Yeah.
But it feels like when we start to go down, I don't feel like he gives over deaths very often. It's like a lot of the time, like the Golden Guardians game where he's died 2 times, even though the team's getting curbed, and in that game too, in the game 2, it was a little rough, and he gave over 1 death. He made the TP play with Ssumday down the mid that basically won the game.
Yeah, finished it. That was the dagger.
After the really nice base. Okay, time for me to come clean. When was it a fight around Dragon that they won? That they mopped us up? I think they got 4 kills, and then one was delayed, and then they went up top and just started slamming down mid. I went to the next game.
Oh.
I went to the next game. I was like, gosh dang it. All right. Game 3, here we go. And I turned it on and I see the score was 2-0.
Oh
and I was like, excuse me? I just assumed we lost that game. So I turned it back on and watched it. I was like, okay. I didn't expect that base defense, and I definitely didn't expect TP play to just win it.
Yeah, the kind of crazy thing about that base defense was it wasn't like it was insane heroics. Like there was not a singular play in that defense that made you say like, I
foiled again.
Not so easily. It was just like, I guess the turret's gonna kill him, and cool.
Well, and BC pointed out, closer sold Mauve whatever to
Oh,
buy
that's a big
GA.
play.
Yeah.
That's a good play. Okay. Okay, I take it back. But, you know, like, mechanically speaking, like, it wasn't like a Ssumday under
Yeah.
turret
I'm with
gets
you.
a
I'm
a
with you.
double kill kinda thing. Obviously still a good play, but I think it was a little bit of C9 feeling the pressure to, "We gotta try to
Isn't it
close this out."
nice to be the team that's making a title contending team feel that way? We got to
Yeah.
do something. That's
Yeah.
what you want your
Yeah.
opponent to feel like. You want your
It's now or
opponent
never.
to be like, we got to do something against these guys,
Yeah.
right? That is a good sign.
Yeah. Yep. Uh,
um. So yeah, game 2. I just totally thought it was a close shave, right? It was a game that I thought we lost.
well, it is the salty run back too, let's not
And it
forget.
was a salty run back, which felt good to win again off the salty run back.
Yeah.
I'm especially glad that Renata went 0-2 against us. I hope Team Liquid decides not to play Renata because I feel like Renata can be very OP. And
Well,
maybe,
especially, like, if Core got it, you know?
yeah, exactly. And you know, teams have banned Renata against us, so maybe they will just not let it be in play. But yeah, game 2, kind of close. But
Yeah.
we were able to gather it and make a crucial play and be smart, be in control, you know? So we did it. Good for us. Game 3, back to stomping. And it could have gone a different way. Do you remember how that game started? They first blooded like immediately. Was it level 2? It was pretty early.
Trying to remember. I can't remember that one.
And then Closer pulls off the flash Q out of their bush into like Pixel. Well, it wasn't into Pixel, but it was, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
That was so good.
Dude.
Yeah.
And gets away. Like so actually not to toot my horn here, but when he went in that bush, I actually knew he was going to do that. I was like, oh, he's definitely going to like flash back and go for the kill. But when I thought that, and you know what, it reminded me of Fake God that one time on the Renekton, right? In the 1v3 when Fake God was playing for us, he retreated into that top brush and then immediately flashed for the slice and dice on 3 right afterwards and turned everything. That I like that play flashed in my head. I was like, yep. Because what is he going to do? He's obviously going to die. He doesn't have anywhere to go.
Running into red jungle,
but he could let him keep pursuing and you know. So anyway, I saw that happening, but I did not think he was going to get away afterwards. It's like he'll still die, but at least he'll take one down with him. He just walked away like nothing happened after the kill.
Yeah,
I don't think he even took any more damage. It was just like, okay, cool. He played that dog emote that he kept flashing and flashed it.
I love that dog emote. My favorite was when they did that, like the gank part 2 up in the top lane.
Yeah.
Where they try it, doesn't work, and then they're like, you know what?
Let's just hang around.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And then he's just standing. He's not even in, you know, he's in vision with that dog emote. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
That's gotta get in their head. That's good. He is a wild man.
But I mean, that did a lot to save that game for us, right? Because that was a rough start, and it could have snowballed a bit from that point. But Closer just does Lee Sin things. What are you gonna do? And the other player I wanted to call out from this game, we already talked about Abbedagge's ults being very solid, and we talked about FBI popping off like crazy in this game too on the Lucian. Freaking Huhi made the Volibear pick like worthless. Did you notice this? Gosh. How many times did Blabber ult in only to be interrupted by the Huhi ult?
Well, he didn't ult in, but he
did the little dive thing, whatever. No, he would there were times when he ulted. There were times when he like flashed for the stun, and Huhi just knocks him up with the ult, like Huhi sees it coming, and it totally ruined the play. You know, he did that like 3 times in that game.
It's a really good counter. It's a really effective counter.
And the thing with the counter though is you have to do it early. You have to see the play happen because there's that bit of time, you know, before the ult actually takes effect. And dude, Huhi, like, I felt like if I was Blabber, I would have just attributed that to Huhi just ruining me with his pick.
Oh yeah, I mean there is that. I think the best representation of that. It was a pretty late game fight. Maybe it was the last fight. I can't remember. But it's mid, and Blabber is doing his bear gallop right into our team as he does, and he gets hit with the wave, and then he reconsiders. And he's like, I should leave. I should get out of here. And this is. for me, when I talked about this a couple weeks ago, why I don't love Volibear, it's this play exactly. It's Blabber running in, best player on your team, arguably Blabber, because Summit certainly is not that for the series. There's, like you need Blabber to have a game if you want to win a game 3 and keep this thing alive. He runs in, he gets waved, he turns around, ults out, Cole, your favorite move, the
Oh my
Volibear ult
gosh.
away, and then gets killed. And I think he gets shot by Lucian. So it's like his entire contribution to that was soaking probably 2,000 damage. Like he
In a
tanked it
death.
and died, and he did 0 damage. So it's just completely neutralized Blabber. And this was the end of the game, towards the end of the game. So super well played by he had his number. It's kind of like it felt as effective a counter as when you have an Alistair and the Alistair's job is to is to neutralize the smite fight. And so Alistair's just
Yeah.
like in a bush by Baron doing nothing. And then the jungler tries to come up and he headbutts him out. And it's like best Alistair in the world. You can't miss. He is unstoppable.
Yeah.
But it's like he had a job and he did it flawlessly, and it looked great.
Yeah. Well, I definitely don't want to see us pick Volibear
I don't either.
in our next
Unless they
series.
delete Lee Sin and the other couple of champions he's really good at,
All
doesn't
of
seem
the
likely.
other champions he's good at.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it felt good, man. It felt
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
did you have
On
something
the
else?
topic of Huhi, his game 1, by the way. So I had no idea that this was the play when you have a Nautilus, but that level 1 was so brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Loved that.
When
Just the full run it down mid.
he misses
And
first
then
hook and then
I just have to call out. Yeah, he missed the first hook,
and
whatever.
it didn't matter. He just flashed and hooked again.
Flash for the root. He got the kill. He got it done. The fact that he ended up with a bounty and like kill leader on our team.
Yeah.
Look, not ideal. Okay, not ideal. But felt like a little bit of a statement against the team that or I guess Max specifically, who described his playstyle as inting.
Yeah.
It's like not only am I not inting, I'm actually killing all of your players. Like
Okay.
I am collecting.
Do you want a fun
kills.
stat
Yes.
on this
I do.
topic? Huhi finished with more kills than the totality of C9 in that game. C9 finished game 1 with 3 kills, and Huhi had 4.
Yeah. So there you go. There's your inting support.
I didn't have that prepared. Just as you're saying it, I was just looking at the KDAs and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that for him. I'm glad that happened. He's doing good stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. It was very good. Now, Hui had a rougher game in game 2, but it's kind of like Nautilus is one of those things where if your team's losing, like it looks bad for Nautilus, like every time.
Yeah.
Poor Stunt. Shout out to Stunt.
Yeah.
And your
You
tenure with
always-
100 Thieves. But when your team's losing, it always looks bad, right? Like, because it's just a
Even if you
melee,
pull
go
off-
in, get involved champion. So if you're
Yeah.
weak, it's just like, okay, cool.
You pull off a great engage, and you've just invited all of the Fed champions
Right.
closer to your team. So thanks.
Okay. Anyway, good game, good series.
Good series. Good
Here's
stuff.
a question.
Yeah.
For you, considering what happened in this series, now that playoffs is happening, and now that like the real things are coming out, did we even reveal anything?
No.
Did we even use anything in this?
We showed that we have a Lucian Nami still. That's it.
I'm trying to
we
think.
have Lucian.
We
We can play Ornn.
Yeah, we did show, don't forget about Ssumday weakside. Not that people would forget about that. Maybe having the Xayah out is kind of like, all right, how did that? Did he play that just once, or was that twice?
He played it in regular season as well. I want to say
That must be what I'm thinking. Yeah, he played in the Dignitas game.
Xayah's coming back in.
Yeah, he
I
only
don't
went
love
1-1 and
Xayah.
6 on it, but
Yeah, exactly. Like here's the thing. Did we show anything? Literally nothing in game 1. Ornn, Lee Sin, Victor, Xayah, Nautilus.
Yeah.
Very standard,
right.
Power picks. Ornn, Lee Sin, Victor, Aphelios, Nautilus in game 2. So still nothing. And game 3 is is the slight variation, and it's just the Lucian Nami,
Just
which is
the
a meta.
which is a known lane, which is
It's
a
a known
lane that
lane. It's
we've
meta.
played. Yeah.
But the bad news for people is they can play it and it's dominant, right? Like it can take over a game.
Yeah.
So, oh no, I guess is the thing you're taking from that.
Apparently, by the way, chat letting me know, Papa Smithy said on Hotline League we didn't really reveal much besides the Lucian Nami, and he implied that it was a fun pick from FBI. Well, it was fun for me too. But I've only listened to just a brief couple of things from Hotline League segment because it wasn't uploaded in podcast form in a timely manner. So, Travis, if you're listening, man, just put it out right away. You don't edit it anyway.
I'm gonna step away really quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. But yeah, so I totally agree with that thought. Like, I don't think we really revealed anything, which is really good to eliminate. Oh, I'll put NFT Jordan up for there we go. Which is really good to do if you are in a series against what is supposed to be a tough opponent, right? We theoretically could only play, like, I think we can only play 3 series and win the whole thing, right? So it's like you get through one. Oh, Jordan's back already. Wow. You get through one of the potentially 3 series on your way to winning the title, and you don't have to give a single strat out. You only have 2 opponents left, They can only prepare for you one at a time. So it's like, that is amazing. We had our first blue side game in a very long time. So that was hilarious that we actually like stomped again when we're back on blue side. It just doesn't feel like we gave away anything. Maybe if they force, I don't know what the rules are on who picks sides, select, and everything. Because it's like maybe there was a world where we play blue side twice, and then it's like you can figure some things out about how we're drafting when we're playing blue side. But yeah, it's just like, no, we got through a tough opponent without anything. What a perfect way to start the playoff run out.
Yeah, right. Hard to think of a better position to be in after this. Just, when you think about those couple of things together.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting actually that they banned Xayah in game 2. I wouldn't have looked at that as the primary. Like, they did the salty run back. They left everything else up, but they banned Xayah. I didn't feel like that was the biggest issue.
Maybe it's because they are trying to get on top of champs with the engage, and she has the ult to go untargetable.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. Right. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like we just haven't shown our cards really. And we are now, like, assuming we win both, we're like 2 series away from winning the whole thing. So yeah, not bad. Are you feeling, I'm guessing you feel the same way as me on this question, but I'll just toss it out in case there's any debate to be had. Are 100T the LCS favorites after this weekend now?
Yeah, I think right now, right? You think about TL, right? Coming in as the 1 seed, having a really tough time with EG, going all 5 games. I think the nuance to this will be, is EG peaking? Is C9 slumping?
Yeah.
And is that the reason that these series looked the way they did? Or
is that how did they weigh? Yeah.
Yeah. Is that contributing to it? I think it's possible, right?
Can I weigh in on those?
Yeah, please.
So I obviously, as I said earlier, I do think C9's slumping. So I think that does have the potential to mitigate what we look like. However, no one was expecting 3-0 from us on C9. And people, I think, still see C9 as having like an immense amount of talent. So I think we come out positive there, all said and done. But with EG, I feel like people underrate EG. I watched them play us, and I was like, wow, we really had to like sweat through that game. And the thing with EG is, in my opinion, they lose because they're young dudes sometimes just like can't get the job done, right? Which I think is totally normal. But like JoJo, especially, I wouldn't say Danny very much, though. Honestly, sometimes Danny does surprise me and kind of like gives away some things in the late game. I still think he's a freaking monster, and I don't want to ever see him. But JoJo, I feel like JoJo, like he will play so well for like 20 minutes, and then after that, it's like he doesn't know how to win beyond there. And so for me, EG has a ton of talent, and that talent is going to learn eventually how to pull it off. I think they're going to learn how to win in those situations.
That's what experience gets you.
Yeah, that's right. But I think like people underestimate how well they play, you know, and how much you do have to sweat out wins against them. So to me, it's like, it's not necessarily that Team Liquid played very badly, because I don't think they did. Obviously, they still won the series. I just think people don't give EG enough credit for being a challenging team to play, especially in a series. So, yeah, so it's not that it's like, oh, well, like C9 got trashed and then TL, oh man, they struggled to beat a bad team. For me, it's C9 slumping, and they did get curbed by us, and Team Liquid actually is still pretty dang good, and EG challenged them because EG is good.
Right.
I still have us, man. I still have us as the favorite, though. So all of that said and done, it's just what I keep saying. The form of our players. Like, if we play as well as we, you know, are showing right now, if we keep that up, I don't care if they've got Core JJ. Like, they had Core JJ last year.
Yeah, that's true.
They had Alfari last year. It didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, and I think to that point as well, you think about their points of strength, right? Top lane. Okay. Summit, you know, those are things that we have shown we have a way to prepare for.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that means we're going to necessarily put Bwipo through the Summit treatment. But, you know, I do anticipate that it means that we have a plan for how to contain the things that make them really good.
Yeah. And we haven't shown anything yet. So, let me ask you one more question then before we move on to listener takes. And I alluded to this earlier and teased that we would revisit this. Say we just never win again this playoffs. Okay.
Okay.
We go to Houston and we lose.
Ever.
Then we lose again. Right.
Yep.
I guess we would lose this upcoming weekend and then lose in Houston is how that would play out. How much do you care that we don't win the title in that scenario?
Are you focusing on the manner in which we lose it, or just the fact that we lose?
No, the fact that we lose. It's like it's like, how much does winning now mean versus not winning for your perceptions of the team for the totality of 2022?
I think that I haven't thought a ton about this. So this is going to come out a little bit unpolished, but here's what I'll say.
Jordan's not even imagining a scenario where we don't win. I like it.
I think that I would feel much more disappointment to not win summer. It's weird. This is weird. It's a good question because it's really making me think about this. I don't know that I'm in a place where I feel like the only thing that success looks like is another banner. You know, and I think that's a fine place for us to be. And the team talks about that a lot. And, you know, you made no changes. You brought the team back. You're the defending champions. The expectations are that you win again. Right.
Right.
I don't know if that's my own personal bar. And I don't know why that is necessarily. Because, you know, I recognize that, you know, if we don't win now, it's not going to get easier to win.
True. I agree with that fully.
But I think that for me, like the now timeline is a little bit more calibrated to season than split. So I think that my answer is I would feel a greater sense of disappointment if we ended the season without winning. And certainly, the good news is there's always world spots to play for as well, right? So it's not, the end of the LCS season in summer doesn't mean that your team is done necessarily if you accomplish that goal. So that, I think that's my answer. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but I think that's where I'm at.
Well, I think what you're saying is you don't super care about whether we win spring or not, so long as we are in worlds spot contention. Like securing worlds is more like meaningful to you.
I think so.
Okay.
Is that because I just got to say this. I know that you've talked a lot about the value of winning a domestic title before turning your entire focus to worlds or international play. So I recognize that. I feel a sense of conflict about that because I feel like I could be going counter to that in some way.
Here's the thing, though. Remember, I said winning a domestic title at that point was the most important thing.
Yeah,
I thought so because, competing, winning worlds, even seeing us beat EDG, winning worlds still feels like pipe dream territory for NA. Yeah. And there's a million reasons why, and everybody's versed in those. But so at the time it was like, that's why winning an LCS title is like, all right, we're legit, we're established. You have to take us seriously. We matter in the conversations. Because like you get those three teams, you get C9, Team Liquid, and TSM acting like no one else matters. Right. And that was what drove me insane because we were spending money. We were doing things right. We obviously made a big impact culturally, within things. All we were missing was the title to be taken fully seriously and to not be the hoodie org anymore. Right.
Right.
So we got that.
Yep.
Now I expect us to be in contention for titles.
Yep.
I don't expect us to win every time, but I expect us to be up there. I come down on this question like I give a narrow edge to no, it's not so critical to win this spring title. For me, like if we flame out after this, so the trajectory would be like losing to TL and then losing to, like C9 or who else would it be? EG again?
Most likely. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like
we're discounting the two other teams in playoffs, but
imagine losing to C9 again, which I would need to look at the bracket to verify it would play out this. But just say that was the scenario and we lost C9 in the second series that we played again. It's like, okay, but we stomped them in the first one and whatever. It's disappointing, but it's like, I don't know. My year is not ruined. Right. The other thing about it is MSI, because getting MSI is the double-edged sword. It's cool because, hey, you're like the representative for NA. You get those international games, the international scrim experience, right? At the same time, this is a team where the players were like, hey, we kind of want to take it a bit more easy. Mm-hmm. And MSI does not allow you to do that, right? And we've seen over and over again teams that go to MSI slump starting out the following split.
Right.
Maybe important though, split. Maybe it's an important split. Maybe slumping wouldn't matter too much if we can round back into form. So there's that. But I think it's like a complicated and nuanced evaluation that you have to make about MSI. And where you come down in that math could possibly flip that answer for you. Because like, all right, if you come down to where like the scrims international games are going to mean a whole lot to the players and their development trajectory, maybe it is very important to win this.
Right.
If the rest and if the rest is important to the players and if they have a level of confidence where they're not going to be down because they didn't win the title and they're like, they know they can still compete on a world's level later, it might be good to miss in some way. Now, no player ever wants to lose, right? They're going to go out there and try and win, and cool, good. Mm-hmm. And I think we have a good chance of doing so. But I think like seeing the team round into this form is like, all right, we've got it in the tank. It's possible. Even when we slump, we know we can get back to this spot. I'm kind of good. I'm kind of good. I hope we win.
I think,
but I'm kind of good if we don't. So
right. I think the thing that you said that really made a lot of sense to me was the expectation now is that we're competing for the title. And I think that it, if your only version of feeling satisfied with a splits effort is to hang another banner, then you should be prepared to feel disappointment a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good recalibration now that we've got our first banner. What does that look like moving forward? Is we need to make sure that we do not again start to lose relevancy.
Yeah, that's what I don't want. And so I feel like we've done enough to really like earn that. Where it's like where we have the relevancy. So it's kind of like, we don't need to. If we lose this, I don't think people are gonna be like, "See, 100 Thieves sucks. They're just bad." I don't think we enter that territory.
Brady Manic, you're right.
Something popped up. Sorry, I don't think we enter that territory. So I'm not super concerned.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to listener questions. By the way, Knox shouting out that 100 Thieves Academy is 2-0 over CLG Academy right now. So shout out to the Academy boys. Everyone can tell Kelsey I mentioned something about Academy on this podcast. Please leave me alone.
There you go.
Listener takes. Starting with our old friend Glenn Taylor. He said 100T had to show nothing and win. Yeah, we talked about that. And even if C9 was boomed, they affirmed in game 3 that bot is still a viable win condition. And so this is the important part, right? It no longer has to be a please carry Ssumday draft.
Yes.
That is what's important. We're back to all ways to play the game. Do you remember mid-season? It was like, kind of sucks to have to like prove this one way to win the game and rely on that. It would be nice going back to we can win in multiple ways. And now, lo and behold, we can.
Here's what it was, Cole. We had the break for everybody on the team except for 2 people. And you know who those 2 people were? Ssumday and Tenacity. They were dueling every week to see who would be the starter. Ssumday trying hard, carrying, keeping the team on his back until he said, "Oh, you're all here. Great. I'll play Ornn. You guys do the rest."
Yeah. Oh my Josh 5 says, I actually think we have a good shot at winning as long as the meta doesn't dramatically change in 2 weeks, which no reason to believe it will since we're playing on this patch for playoffs. We only showed 2. He said, we really only showed 2 compositions. Now Lucianami is viable. Check. We talked about that. TL was pushed to game 5, showing a ton and susceptible to aggression. That was one of the takes on Hotline League where it's like, I don't know if I agree with the thought that they are susceptible to aggression because it doesn't seem like they're drafting to care about the early game.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he says we still have the element of surprise, and I think that that's key. So Team Liquid is probably the most like quote sound team to beat, right? They're the team where it's like, all right, like they're not going to make many mistakes. They're going to play standard League of Legends really well. Like they're going to force you to like beat them before they get too powerful, right?
Yeah.
Before they're inevitable. And so I do think the element of surprise is a thing. I don't know what we have prepared. It could be that we have some sick stuff ready to go. It could be that we don't, and we're just like, no, we're just good. So we're going to play our game.
Yeah.
I don't know. But if we do have some cool stuff locked and loaded, then I definitely think that plays advantageously to us.
Yep.
But I do think Team Liquid is certainly going to be a tougher opponent than C9 was. So
agreed.
JC 101, because of course we have a JC 101 take.
He is inevitable.
Maybe we should call this just JC 101, like taking you to school with JC listener takes.
JC.
He says he doesn't have a hot take. He has a picante take.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
100T is going to drop only 1 game for the rest of playoffs.
The rest of playoffs all the way to the trophy. Ooh. Okay.
all
That's
the
good
way to the
content.
trophy. So that's
Yeah.
2 more series, as we mentioned. One would be against Team Liquid. The second would be against Team Liquid. So,
Okay.
where do you you go first? I don't know. I'm thinking.
Okay. He didn't specify for us where this one game is going to come from.
No, he just said we're going to drop only one.
All right. I'm going to say I mean he's calling that we win it. So I won't weigh in on that yet because that would be getting ahead of ourselves on the agenda here. It's saying a lot. Basically, what he's asserting is that whether this series or the next series, we have so many different things ready and we're so much better that they are only going to manage to beat us once. I would be surprised. How would you feel? What's your thoughts?
So right now I do feel like we're favorites to win, as I said.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure it's going to be that easy. We got honestly, we got kind of lucky in game 2 against C9. I think we've got some room to get better though. I'm gonna take the over here. I think we will lose more than one game.
I will,
but JC will be a legend if he's correct.
Yes, he will.
It's Rocket has a series of questions. He has a 3-course meal of questions. 1, where is LS? LOL.
Oh,
LOL.
He's watching the games. He's
from home.
Yeah.
As Jordan predicted. Question 2. Do these last few weeks confirm that the team were a little, quote, chilling during the first half of the split, like Mithy said? So this is the answer we were given from Miffy, and then it was reaffirmed by both Papa Smithy and Reapered. And I think even the players said some things along those lines too. When there's agreement across like the whole thing, it's either the truth or like this is the talking point for us.
Yeah.
I think they were telling the truth. I do.
Yeah.
And clearly the results support that we're in the right place now.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that's weird about this is that it's been so like, I mean, obviously in Hotline League it came up, but it hasn't really been talked about much. I think we have talked about it more than anyone else. Because like it was first mentioned in the Mithy interview was criminally under like viewed, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think that message really got out. I haven't heard any of the analysts until this last Hotline League episode. I haven't heard anybody talking about this, and it's been out there for a few weeks. So I thought that was weird because I felt like if it's for sure a thing, then the analysts would have been talking about it. But honestly, kind of feels like they just aren't paying as much attention to Under Thieves. I mean, remember how surprised they were that we all felt that Ssumday was a stronger MVP candidate for regular season than closer? We all seem to very much agree on that. And, you know, despite closer right now, obviously being the bigger piece, I think right now, carrying more for us for the regular split, you know, it's just like, if you're paying attention, I don't think that was surprising. So I don't know, maybe they're just not giving us enough credence.
Could be.
But that all that said, I do think that that's legit. Like, I think that it is what happened. It's kind of a weird thing to make up if it's not true.
Yeah.
So, because I don't know, you don't want to have a line that's like potentially looks bad on your players, right?
Yeah.
So,
and the one thing I'll add is we don't really know what that means exactly, right? It's hard to say. Like,
Papa Smithy gave a couple concrete examples on Hotline League. One of them being like who he asked if he could like go to the gym. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And how can they work that into the schedule? You know, so
which, you know, feels pretty. That doesn't. There's a version of this where it's like we took Wednesdays off.
Yeah,
you know, like so. I don't really.
It's kind of innocuous, right?
It's hard to say if that's what was behind this because we don't know what it was. But clearly, it's something that the team's talking about and that there are actual examples for. So, did it happen? Seems signs point to yes. That's what I'll say.
8-Ball Jordan says signs point to yes. And final question for Vince Rocket, which, by the way, don't do 3 questions. 33 questions. One was a joke question. Actually, the third is kind of a joke question too. This is why we allow it. Question 3: Are we winning MSI?
Okay. I've heard that T1's pretty good this year.
But that was all against substitutes. Yeah, we're not winning MSI, in my opinion, and that's totally fine too.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't have to do that.
Imagine if we did, but we're not. So, moving on. Let's call him Gabe says Viego is going to run the series, and he doesn't mean that necessarily. As I'm reading this, he doesn't mean that necessarily is for us. He's saying like that's the crux of the matter. He says very interested to see both teams answer him, but more worried for Team Liquid since they must have Viego PTSD.
It's a new batch of players, but still trembling at the thought. Yeah, the institutional memory is too strong. They're very worried about it. They probably have like a thing where you can't say Viego inside the TL alien house, whatever they call it.
It's filtered out. It's on the ban list.
Yeah.
I do think I think that the observation that Viego may be a champion contention between the two, I think that's right. Santorin, I think like he's had a couple really nice looking Viego things. He ain't closer though. He ain't closer. Bamatide 88 asks, why did Illinois play so badly in the college basketball tournament?
Because we always do.
Thank you for your take. At least we made it past the first round, Alabama fan. Nick Moore said, how much Lil Nas X do I have to blast to win the split?
Just a bit more than you currently are, is my answer.
Just turn it up a little bit.
A bit more. Yeah, everybody go back and watch
that video. It's like a morning prayer for 100 Thieves fans.
That's right.
Just put it on. And then one final thing from Real Connection, who I'm going to mention this like every time Real Connection comes up now because of his championship aura tweet, which is like the funniest thing to me right now. I just love this theory that there's only enough championship aura for one team at a time within 100 Thieves. Clearly it's been fully donated to the LCS team, but I don't even remember what the take was last week from Real Connection, but he said, since the dads deemed my take trash last week, I'm here to redeem myself.
Oh no.
Ssumday we'll revert back to a support champ role for the rest of playoffs. Because the rest of the team is back in form similar to last season, we won't see another split push champ. Do we think that's going to happen? Do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
I'll go first, and I'm going to do a lighter response so you can get the fuller one if you'd like. I think it's an interesting idea because let's assume we're playing against Bwipo. I think one of the really good ways to, as we've seen, neutralize some of these top lane bullies is just to play something that can soak it all up and kind of shrug it off. I mean, that strategy worked very well against C9. I have full confidence we could still see Ssumday on any one of the myriad of carry champs he's played. So, but I think strategically it's an interesting idea because you can't really prepare for an Ornn.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, how do you punish it? Good luck. It's very hard to punish.
Well, the thing is, we know that we're gonna have one series against Team Liquid.
Yep.
And Bwipo is weird. Bwipo will play weird stuff, and I don't think you can like necessarily plan for what he's going to play. So I actually don't think we're going to see it. I think Ssumday is going to play something like more dominating in this series. Yeah, I do. We've saved counter pick for him a lot this split.
I think he rolls an AD. We'll see a Malphite, that kind of thing.
So I think there's. Bwipo's probably going to pull out something weird, and Ssumday may like answer with like, no, this is my territory champ. So I don't think we're going to see him just on that for the rest of the playoffs, but I do think we're going to see more of it in the playoffs than we saw during the split. So I don't think the take's all the way wrong.
Well, and just to add a little bit more, I mean, we saw the value of the Ornn in the team fights. We saw the value of the Ornn in the item upgrades, right? When the rest of your team, when the entire rest of your team is popping off, what better than to give them that little boost,
right?
AD and AP,
and we saw him doing Ssumday things again with foiling multiplayer dives.
Yeah.
It's just like they commit a lot to him, and he just doesn't seem to die very often. And
The
it's
TP behind in bot lane, the TP behind, the Orn Horn to kill one player, then the headbutt to completely blow up another into the wall. Like you're telling me that's a supportive champ?
it's a thing of beauty, my friend.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll do it for listener takes this week. Jordan, we have to make predictions for next week. But all
good.
we've got is scrims because we don't have to play.
Wait, we're not playing this weekend?
We're not playing this weekend. We're playing this on this. What is it? The 16th versus Team Liquid, something like that. Let me look really quick. But yeah, we have this upcoming weekend off.
Oh, because it's the 2 lower bracket.
Yeah, Saturday, April 16th is our next matchup. So here's the thing. We'll probably not do a podcast next week. So because of that,
we're doing podcast scrim.
Okay. Let's just cast scrims. See if they want us to do that. Let's in lieu of that, then let's quickly talk about the 2-week break for our team, and then predict on the series itself.
Yep.
So, if you guys so JLXP is a great podcast, right?
Yes.
I'm always talking about what's on there. One of the things Jat mentioned is that the way it worked for him last year was that because of the condensed nature of the split, if you guys remember, they sped up the split to like 6 weeks or something. And they had 3 games a week.
Yeah, that's right.
He actually said the 2 weeks between their, they had the comparable scenario, and in their 2 weeks, they got basically another full season's worth of scrims in that time.
Wow.
Because he did the math, and he was like, it's virtually like the same amount of scrims because they had, 14 days to run blocks.
Right.
And usually, you just don't have that. You have 3 days of scrims in that schedule. Now you have 4 days of scrims in the current schedule. But still, the point is potential for a lot of practice.
Yep.
And think about where we were at the beginning of this split and where we got to by week 7. And if we have like a comparable amount of scrims in this period, plus time to watch Mad Lions VODs, we could potentially get up into that, that extra headroom area I was talking about for this team. Do you think we're going to come out stronger, or do you think there's a potential to lose the edge because we're not playing as many games?
I think we come out stronger. It's more time for us to get comfy with this patch. More time to develop things that no one has seen and that didn't have to be shown against C9. So yeah, I think the scrim time will be good.
Yeah. I like the edge of playing games. I do really like it. But I don't think we need to like
TL's not playing games either, right?
Yeah, that's right. But I expect them to have a good schedule. The problem is we can't scrim them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we would scrim C9 because we potentially play them again. So I think our scrims would be against teams that are already eliminated or even academy teams. So I do worry about the quality of the practice.
Right.
But the other thing is maybe the players getting a little bit of a break also from games is a good thing. I don't know. I don't know if the philosophy is that they slam this really hard. Maybe someone can ask Papa Smithy that the next time we have an opportunity. I don't know if they slam scrim super hard or if they, just kind of like have a more normal schedule. But it's a lot of time to make plans, and that's what's good, especially against a team like Team Liquid who tends to play more standard, more predictable. So I think for sure it's going to be a good thing for us.
Yep.
Meaning that when we play Team Liquid on April the 16th, how are we going to do?
We're going to win, Cole. We're going to win C9, or I'm just so used to saying we're going to win against C9.
Yeah, it's been a lot recently.
We're going to beat TL. And it's going to be, drum roll, please, 3-1.
3-1.
I didn't even wait for the drum roll. That was a good drum roll. It's going to be 3-1. And here's why. Um, I feel more confident in our players at this point. The trajectory continues to be upwards, so I'm going to factor that in. I think the scrim time helps. I think the fact that we have the element of surprise helps. I think the fact that you know, that those are the things. Those are the facts. And so that, I think I'm going to give, like, I think TL's good for sure. But I think we're better as we have been in the past. And I think that we will have enough to show that we'll drop a game, but win 3.
Something you didn't mention that I think is vitally important to predicting the outcome of this series is that 100 Thieves in this iteration has a proven track record of banning Zillion.
Ooh. There you go. Can't lose.
We're going to win. I think it's going to be, I also am going to predict 3-1. So we're going to be in harmony again.
Nice.
3-1, 100 Thieves wins and moves on to the final. The final. I can't wait.
Final. Man. It's a great series. I've heard that it's a real fun one to watch. We play some good League of Legends at the final.
Yeah. I think for me, as I kind of alluded to earlier, I think Bwipo is going to be the X factor, but I think we're going to be sufficiently prepared and we're sufficiently good to handle it. I know Core JJ is Core JJ. That's always going to be the case.
Bjergsen's.
And Bjergsen's Bjergsen, but we are 100 Thieves, and that's the problem for them.
Yeah.
So I think the chance for Team Liquid to win is if Bwipo just has the monster series on his weird stuff, which I just don't think is going to happen. So that's why I'm going with 100 Thieves. And the good news is, even if we lose, we don't lose.
We have another life.
It's like even when we win, he wins. Yeah, I think we've got to continue to use. So I'm kind of cool with it. And then we'll be in Houston. And Jordan, will we be in Houston? Who knows? We haven't really talked about it.
Who knows?
We don't know. It's getting a little late to make plans, but we'll have to figure that one out. Well, that's what's gonna happen. Yeah, we're playing. Resurgence. Yeah, 100 Thieves is Resurgence. Okay, so yeah, that'll do it. More. I alluded on the Arcane stream to an upcoming, interesting stream. Still waiting to find out what's gonna happen on that, but I think maybe it'll take the place of the pod next week. So I think within 10 days we will have done this stream. So more details on that as soon as we can. And then I am not 100% sure we're doing Rec League this week. So we'll play that by ear. But if we are, we look forward to seeing you there. So
it's coming up soon. Today's Tuesday. So
we'll let you know as soon as we can. All right. So that's going to do it for us on the pod. Congratulations to the boys at 100 Thieves, the boys behind the boys at 100 Thieves, and to the fans for being loyal.
Yeah. This is the reward.
This is the reward. That's right. Always feels good to beat C9. And this time, Sandwich doesn't even have to give 100 subs because it's not a surprise anymore. Guys, as always, we love you and we miss you already.
Take care.